State officials and federal regulators are still studying the proposal from Kinder Morgan and Tennessee Gas to place a natural gas transmission pipeline across northwestern Massachusetts. Tonight, Connecting Point correspondent Carolee McGrath begins a two-part look at the controversial project.
I'm joined by Benji Borowski of the Coalition to Lower Energy Costs and State Representative Paul Mark from the 2nd Berkshire District. Thank you both so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
So I wanted to start with you, Representative Mark. Why are you opposed to the pipeline for your area?
The thing is that the overwhelming majority of people in my district are opposed to it. So you're talking about I have 5 towns that would be in the path of this proposed pipeline, including 2 of which would host 2 of the compressor stations, and only 3 are slated for the entire state. And the people in these towns, they're very small towns. These are rural towns. And
Tell me the towns. Tell me some of
the
names.
towns that are affected are Dalton, Peru, Hinsdale, Windsor, and Northfield in my district. And Windsor and Northfield would be slated to host some of the compressor stations. And so you're talking about the smallest towns, the most pristine towns. You're talking about protected land. You're talking about state forests. You're talking about that land that has been untouched basically since our country began. And they're afraid of that changing. They're afraid of a giant project coming through, dirty, destroying protected land, destroying forests, changing the nature of the communities, and then you're talking about communities that aren't really going to receive any of the benefits, if there are benefits, of this project in any way.
Because there's no gas service in that area. You're correct?
Yeah, absolutely. In a town like Windsor that would host a compressor station, you're talking about 800 people. There is no way that the gas service is going to be expanded to those people's homes because of the compressor station.
Okay, Benji, you come at this from a completely different point of view. First of all, tell me who is part of the coalition and why are you in favor of it?
The Coalition to Low Energy Costs was formed basically in the face of the energy crisis in New England, and our members include associations of large industrial consumers. We have ski resorts, data storage centers, commercial property owners around Boston, aerospace parts manufacturers, so on and so forth. And our policy experts are both former Department of Public Utilities commissioners in Massachusetts. And in general, I would urge you to read the Coalition's Strategic Energy Plan, which is found on our website, but that sort of sets forth a 5-step plan as to why we think increased natural gas pipeline capacity is the solution for New England and how it can form the foundation for a cleaner energy future. Basically, I'll give you a rundown of the 5 steps. 1, this pipeline and also the Access Northeast pipeline. I have to state that the Coalition favors a generic amount of capacity, and we've done analysis that suggests we need about 2 BCF. So that would include both the Northeast Energy Direct project and Spectra's Access Northeast project. The first step really is these pipelines would allow us to completely displace coal and oil from the electric sector entirely and provide alternatives to fuel oil for heating. Second, it would lower energy costs both on the heating and the electricity side by billions of dollars annually for the region, which would allow us to be competitive with all other areas of the United States. And most importantly, it would allow it to be politically feasible to continue and possibly improve our incentives for renewable energy and energy efficiency in the region. Third, these pipelines would allow our existing natural gas-fired electric generators to use their flexibility to balance increasing amounts of renewable energy. Fourth, as we develop more renewable energy and that's integrated into the grid, our existing natural gas generators will be less important for the actual energy they produce, but they'll be more important in their backup role, and that is backing up the intermittency of renewable energy. And fifth, once we have a cleaner and cheaper fuel mix, we can work towards electrifying the heating and transportation sectors in New England, and those are really the only 2 sectors which haven't had emissions reductions.
Okay, so Representative Mark, what's your response to that as far as lowering energy costs in the area?
Well, at first I think, and I think the people in my district would feel that natural gas is not a clean energy. I also think they would feel that it's not a renewable energy. I think there are a lot of other alternatives in renewable energy. I'm the lead sponsor of a bill for community-based solar and for raising the net metering cap on solar. I know in the works right now in the legislature we're talking about hydro, we're talking about a lot of different renewable energies that could be brought here, both from in Massachusetts and from without Massachusetts, to make more of a dent in bringing down costs. Obviously, lowering energy costs is important to me and it is important to the legislature, and I'm sure it's important to the people in my district. Our electric bill last year, I remember the month of January last year, my electric bill went up to $700. That was ridiculous.
$700.
$700 for 1 month, but I do have electric heating, which I was talking about you offline earlier. But I also think that expanding gas capacity isn't necessarily going to lower any costs at all. When you expand capacity, you could also be increasing demand. If you bring gas supply into a new area, I know the governor of Maine and the governor of Rhode Island are really big into this because they want the gas service in their area. So if you start bringing service up to Maine, what's to say that the demand's not going to go up and the prices aren't going to go up? Or if we start exporting this, and I was at a Department of Energy session down in Pittsburgh talking about export of natural gas. The United States wants to be an exporter of gas and of oil, and we want to be less reliant on fossil fuels from abroad, which is a good goal.
Of course.
But when we're talking about export, if you're bringing this onto the world market now, the prices are going to be set by the world market. They're not going to be set by anybody here in Massachusetts. So to me, there's not a guarantee that any price is going to go down.
You're not against Spectra, though, which was the other project he had mentioned.
What I would say is the people of my district aren't against Spectra because it doesn't come into their towns. And I think when you're talking about Spectra, you're talking about expanding existing capacity. And I think there's a very different argument. So if you take away the fact that, yes, natural gas is still a greenhouse gas. It's not carbon-based. It's methane, but it's still going to be having a detrimental effect to the environment and climate change and et cetera. But that being said, that if you're talking about expanding something that already exists, you can't make the same argument as I've been making, that you're coming into a town that is basically all forest and you're tearing it all up to put a pass-through and then put a giant station there that is never going to serve the people of the community. And Western Massachusetts, we've lived this before. We lived this with the Quabbin Reservoir. We're constantly taken for granted by other parts of the state and by other parts of the country.
Although it's important to say that there already is existing pipeline down in the Springfield area. So you say that you would be in favor of any additional improvements made to that or something like that.
I say there wouldn't be the same opposition to expanding pipeline that already exists.
That already exists. So Benji, Attorney General Maura Healey released a report saying that the electric capacity in New England will remain stable for the next 15 years. And she said that there are much cheaper ways and cleaner ways to improve capacity. What's your response to that?
Well, it certainly is a data point to consider, but I actually think the study is pretty fatally flawed, and it begins with just the question that the study asked. It's a question that our experts have asked 10 years ago. They already know the answer to it. The question is, can we keep the lights on? Are we going to maintain electric reliability? And the study basically said we would need about 0.42 billion cubic feet per day of gas capacity just to keep the lights on. Well, we have ISO New England, the independent regional grid operator. We have FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Those commissioners are appointed by the President and confirmed by Congress. We have NERC, the North American Electric Reliability Corporation. We also have all the state public utility commissions and public service commissions around the region. All of those experts, subject matter experts in electricity, they identified the problem years ago. And what have we done? ISO New England has implemented the Winter Reliability Program, which is basically an emergency subsidy to oil-fired generators. Because our natural gas pipelines are so constrained in the winter, ISO said in order to maintain electricity, we need to ensure that all the old oil-fired generators in the region have oil in their tanks so they can burn it to generate electricity. And that has costed ratepayers about $40 to $70 million a year. We're paying for it now. Nobody really knows they are, but we are. And FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, it has already approved that program through 2018-19. So we've had the Winter Reliability Program for the past 3 years, and it's going to continue for the next couple of years, at least. So basically, we're going to keep the lights on. Everybody knows we're going to keep the lights on, and the answer is through oil.
Right. Well, we have a lot more on this discussion. We're going to continue this discussion on the pipeline on Wednesday night, and I want to thank you both for joining us, and we'll see you again on Wednesday to talk more about this.